Okay.
This former NFL quarterback beat Andy Roddick.
Beat Roddick twice. Who would know something like that? Okay, you know what? I'm going to try it.
Who we calling?
We're calling Steve Tackle. He was my coach at the rack. Come on. Please answer. Please answer.
Sebastian Vile interview number 2. We did a Sebastian Vile interview about 2 years ago. Talked about the Gopher program getting cut, him at Wisconsin, how he was the clinch god, and now we're gonna have him back on. He was just an Alabama assistant coach, part of the SEC, and now he has transitioned to the Ivy League, to Yale, and accepted an assistant coaching position there. So interested to see what that is like. And he just started just this past week. So he's recruiting down in Florida right now. So I'm very excited to get into this interview with Sebastian Vile. Yo, what up?
How we doing?
Doing super good. How are you?
Florida summer is no joke.
That's where you're this summer, or that's where you're at right now?
I'm here right now because I'm at Clay's recruiting.
Okay. Do you just identify like a bunch of people beforehand, or do you just go and talk with everyone and just kind of get to know people?
We use tennis recruiting and kind of, I think we go like top 60, and then not all of them obviously are going to want Ivy. And then the ones who show interest, we use this time to watch them. We'll watch them at Kalamazoo as well. And then, the ones that we really like, we kind of have to move on earlier because we kind of need to get them while they're still kind of raw, and then, try and commit them early before the better, bigger schools kind of swoop in and say, actually, why don't you come play for like a Virginia, for example? So, this Battle of the Sections in Kalamazoo is like an important period in our recruiting. So I have, where's the page? I got my handy dandy recruiting notebook.
I love that it has black Sharpie on the front and it says recruiting on it.
Yeah, I gotta label it, but like map out my day, like who's playing where at what site. So I gotta do this for tomorrow because by now, well, I might be wishful thinking, but by now they should have the draws updated with who won and who plays at what time and where, but could be wrong. So
Did you ever play in Kalamazoo?
Yeah, I did once.
What was that like?
It was pretty cool, honestly. It's like the closest thing to a professional tournament that you can get as a junior without playing ITFs. It's like the talk of the town, and the energy there is it's different. Like going back as a coach was way different because I'd walked in, I was like, oh my gosh, I remember doing like all of this. So yeah, it's a pretty cool tournament. I can't lie.
Yeah. What makes it like more of a professional tournament or like professional vibe?
Well, just every match is chaired, right? So every match you have someone in the chair. There's live scoring. So like people can follow along. And it feels, it's the closest thing to like professional setting. Like you get ball kids in Stowe, you get ball kids, and the last match is like a full line crew, or maybe it's even the semis and finals are a full line crew, and like all the big Americans come play it. Even the ones who are playing ITFs, they come specifically just to play that one. So it feels different than any junior tournament that you might play.
Yeah. So I texted Matt. I think I told him like 2 days ago about this, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm down." And so I reminded him today, because I always will send the reminder because it's not always on people's priority list, but it's on my priority list.
Right.
And so Matt had a tennis match. He canceled because he was playing 7:30 to 8. And then David. So go to David because Matt gave me ample amount of time. 4:30 I think is when he let me know. So go to David.
Yeah.
Go to the bullpen. And
Yes.
David says yes. He's like, yeah, I'm down. I'm super down. But it is 8:01 right now, and it is. This is how it always goes.
Let me see here.
So I think it'll just be us two. But yeah, I'm super excited. This is your second time being interviewed, and then you've been on a handful of times when we were kind of trying to run it back for our like point system league whatnot.
Yes. Yes. Those were fun. Those were fun. I have to admit, those were fun. Now I can't participate now because of my job. So if those ever do get revived, it's illegal for me to participate. But those were fun. I have to admit, I was in like at BAM. I was in like a little like pick'em league just between us coaches. We would like pick some players every major. And you got points if they kind of like what Tim Budarak used to do at the outdoor. And so it was just fun, like going through the majors and like studying the draw and be like, ooh, that's a tough matchup. I'll pick this guy because he's got a good draw and all that. Sort of similar to what we're doing, except we weren't actually betting for money. But
yeah, but
so
I mean, like 100% honest, like we weren't either. Like we just created as a contest, and we made it money to have some sort of like a way to like calculate how we were doing. You know what I mean?
right.
So it would just be an arbitrary amount, just so there would be a confines of like you could only do this, or this, just
Yeah.
so there would be a consistent, like you couldn't just like go all in. You know what I mean?
Yes, I understand that. That's
Yeah.
a good system, honestly. That's
Yeah.
well done. It's well
It
done by you all.
it is a crazy amount of effort on the backside, like for me to like go and do the ranking. So if there isn't like 100% all in from everyone, it's really hard for me to like if it's not going well. You know what I mean? If something like that is just popping off and doing super well, I think you get kind of that motivation. But when it's doing just mediocre and like probably no one cares but
Yeah.
me, then it's like, well, you gotta find that internal want.
Yes, I agree with that. That's no, that's a clever way of doing it, really. I mean, it's just a way to draw interest, like you said. So
Yeah.
well
Do you pay attention to like tennis YouTube at all, or tennis media?
done. Here and there, I watch a lot of Andy Roddick's podcasts. I haven't watched any of his Wimbledon recaps. But yeah, like I've seen like a lot of his videos. I started watching Steve Johnson, Sam Querrey, Isner, and Sox one as well. I like that one. They tell it like it is, and they're pretty open and they're like good commentators about tennis as well. So yeah, I with that sort of stuff, yes. But honestly, the last like 3 or 4 days, I've kind of been out of the loop on Wimbledon. Like I don't even know who even won today. I assume Alcaraz destroyed Nori.
Yep. Straight sets. It was
Two,
like
3, and
6-2,
3. Oh my
6-3,
gosh.
6-1 or something like that.
Yeah, killed him, and then Fritz won in the fourth.
Yep, Fritz won in the fourth. I would say like the talk of the tournament has been all the top seeds getting bounced right away. Like
Yep.
Zverev got bounced first round.
I
think
was so happy about that as well.
Yeah. I just hate Zverev so much.
Yeah, he's a very hateable guy.
It's just like a combo of things, and I think what really sealed the deal for me, amongst all the other things, is in Acapulco. It was kind of like the start of my tennis like extreme fandom, where I would watch every single week.
Yeah.
Before I was more just probably a casual fan. But anyways, I think it was 2022, and he played in Acapulco in doubles, and he like smoked his racket against the chair umpire, and I think he like might have clipped him or something like that.
No, he just hit the chair. I remember that.
Okay. But that was like that was like that was kind of like the final straw. I'm like, all right, like this guy's an absolute psychopath. Like he can't control. Like this is doubles, and
Yes.
you're a top 10 guy in singles. Like why are you getting that upset?
Yeah, he's. I don't know. I'm. If I speak, I'm in trouble about him. So
Sure.
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
Don't
Um,
want to get too into it.
I remember in our last interview, you talked about doubles and how that was kind of your favorite. Have you kind of transitioned that thought now into coaching and trying to kind of instill your passion or your strength of doubles into your players?
Yeah, I'd say that's like one of my bigger emphasis. I I was kind of like a guru about it. I know it's only worth 1 point in Division 1, but like I did some kind of like mini study, just of like the matches that I could find, like and our matches. And in my first season there at Bama, we were wait, let me pull up the facts so I don't accidentally misquote it. But I went in and kind of um I kind of got way into the weeds with it just to show how important it was. But when we won the doubles point, um, we were, excuse me, in matches that ended 4-3 last match on. When we won the doubles point in those matches, we were 5-1.
Okay.
And then conversely, we um, we were 1-5 when we lost the doubles. But the one time that we lost 4-3 last match on after winning the doubles was at this tournament called Blue Gray, which the weird thing about that is you play 3 matches in 2 days. So the first day you show up, you play just the doubles. No, excuse me. You go doubles. So you play a match, you play double singles, and then you end the day with doubles of your next match. So we beat Rice first, and then we played Princeton. We won the doubles against Princeton. The next morning, came back and played singles. So it's kind of an asterisk because I wonder what would have happened if we'd played singles right after instead of
Right.
going away, sleeping, warm up, all that whole new day,
Yeah.
you know. So kind of has an asterisk. But anyway,
Why do they do that?
because they want to get 3 matches in 2 days because it's like a draw format,
Mm,
like 1 through 8, and the appeal of the tournament is you stay in the community with like host families. It's like a huge deal, um, and it's just a way to get teams to come down and play outdoor matches. Really,
yeah.
so they wanted to play 3 matches in 2 days, and that's kind of the way that you do it.
Okay, that makes
Is
sense.
you play a match and a half, and then you play a match and a half.
What
So
another question that I had before was what's Yale's mascot?
it's a bulldog.
Bulldog. Okay.
His name is Handsome Dan.
Handsome Dan.
Handsome Dan the Bulldog. So they're the Bulldogs, and they're led by Handsome Dan. And there's a real Handsome Dan. He has his own office, and there's someone employed to take care of it.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is probably the most casual way that to ever start an interview, just because I didn't really know if David was coming or not. But yeah, I mean, let's officially begin. I mean, I'm going to include everything that we've talked about, just because it's all tennis related. But
Right.
um, super recent news for you though is you got your new position at Yale.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of alluding to it, but how has the transition been from Alabama assistant coach to now Yale assistant coach?
Well, I mean, it was kind of a weird situation because I graduated and finished my degree at Alabama May 3rd, which was the same day that we played Pepperdine in the first round of NCAAs. So, and then we ended up losing. So on May 3rd, very technically, I was done. Like I finished school and I was done as a coach because my stipend and scholarship only covered like the academic year and then the postseason. So from May until like June, I was basically on vacation. Like I was deciding if I wanted to stay for another year at Alabama, which I could have done, but I would have had to get a completely different degree, which very first world problem, but like I didn't really want to keep doing school. Um, so that option was still on the table, but I kind of was ready to try and find a full-time job. So at the end of May, I went out to San Diego because there's like 6 weeks of futures in California. It's like the SoCal Pro Series, and we had a player who had some points, and he got into qualies for a couple of them. So I went with him. He hired me, so it's perfectly legal. Um, and so I was out there, and then I get a call from our head coach at the time who goes, the assistant job at Yale is opening, and I recommended you because the head coach at Yale was a volunteer at Alabama like 7 years ago, 6 years ago, even. So that's how that connection started. And so we got to talking. I had a couple interviews over the phone with him and, the supervisors at Yale. And then I remember the day I got offered the job, it was like a Saturday, I think. And I said, okay, I'll let you know on Monday. And that night I went to dinner and then like shopping afterwards in this mall in San Diego. And I went into this Urban Outfitters with the intent of buying a gift for my girlfriend. And I'm walking around and I completely randomly just walk by the hats. And lo and behold, what is there? A Yale hat in this Urban Outfitters in San Diego. So I looked at it and I was like, if that's not a sign, then I don't know what is. So, yeah, the next day I called, I accepted the job, and I started July 1st. So June was spent, kind of packing up my things and getting ready to move. And then June 30th, I started the 16 and a half hour drive to New Haven. Got there Tuesday evening. I've been furnishing my new place since. It's not all the way done yet, but I've got a mattress, a coffee table, and a chair so far. And then yesterday, which was Monday the 7th, I got down here at Clay's, and I'll be here until Friday, the end of the week, and then it's back to New Haven. So it's been busy, is the short answer. After that, very long story, but it's been busy.
Yeah. What specifically stood out kind of when you were talking with, with maybe the Yale coaches, coaching staff and admin, that like kind of like drew you to the program? Because obviously there would be some things that could be a potential turnoff, but there's probably
Right.
some positives where you're like, okay, checks my boxes of this. What were those things?
I think I really wanted something different. The SEC is the best conference in tennis. I don't think that's up for debate anymore. And it was great for me to have that experience, like 2 seasons in it, like being around, some of the best players in the country and, guys who really want to be professional and like want to go pro after college. So that was great. But I knew that in my next job, I wanted to expand the resume by being in a different environment with different profiles of student athletes, different expectations, and all that. And that's what drew me to the Ivy in particular, because that is it's like polar opposite, right? You have guys who, the academics are more prioritized. Not that they weren't at Bama, but it's a different level in the Ivies. And I think it's a really good time to be in the Ivy League, really, especially with this NIL, circus that's going around right now. The Ivy Leagues aren't participating in that, so it's kind of that's all taken care of and pushed to the side. So it's going to be different challenges. Like the resources are not going to be the same as an SEC school for sure, but at the same time, I look at it as a chance to expand and really push and challenge myself to come from the SEC into the Ivy League, where I'm going to have to learn some different things and really expand my skill set. So that was that, and then also pretty easy to get home. I have family and girlfriend all in Minnesota, so that's important to me. And I can take a direct flight from Hartford, which is 40 minutes away. Whereas in Birmingham, I had to take minimum 2 flights and an hour drive down to Tuscaloosa as well. So it's a lot easier for me to get there. It's a lot easier for my family to get there. It's closer to a big city, which is great too. So 2 hours from New York and no problem. And it's a great academic institution. So to be associated with Yale is, that has its perks as well. So it really checked all my boxes. And it's going to give me 4 seasons again because I missed the snow like hell.
Yeah.
Missed it.
Yeah.
So it really ticked everything.
Is there any specific things that you've kind of picked up at your time at Alabama under the coaching staff there? Because you mentioned you were a grad assistant, finished up your school or your graduate program, whatnot. But yeah, is there anything that you're going to kind of take away from your time, maybe that you picked up from the coaching staff that you're going to, hey, this is going to be like one of my core things that I'm going to focus on at Yale?
Yeah. I would say, I think the team camaraderie and culture and energy piece, to me, it's pretty clear that, we lost a lot of close matches. We had 13 4-3 matches last year.
Wow.
This past year, 13. So if you thought 6 was a lot, we had 13. We had double that this year. And we were on the wrong side of a lot of them. Sometimes it was just we got outplayed. Sometimes we, other things happened. But to me, like, it's really going to be about who can compete for the longest time, who's willing to dig in and really just not go away. And I feel like it's easier when you're underdogs and you're trying to break through like we are here. We're trying to make the NCAA tournament. We're trying to be in the top 30. We're trying to do all these things. It's a little bit different when you're the one trying to protect what you have and like beat the people that you should, which I've experienced both now, which is good. And also I think just the organization that it requires. I think certainly when I was a player, I didn't appreciate all of the organization and the planning that goes into it. But now that I've kind of done the other side of it and sort of seen what the level of organization that it takes to have a successful program, like, that's valuable. And I think that was one of my selling points really to get the job, was that I was very involved in the logistics side of it. So while I was a grad assistant, the staff at Alabama made sure that I was involved. So I was learning how to do it. And, I'm super grateful to them for that. But, I'm definitely going to bring those organizational skills with me. So,
yeah. And a few people who have been on the channel, on the podcast before, and I guess one who hasn't, but so David, of course, he's one of my best friends. He's a coach at Concordia. He's talked about the organization stuff. He's like, dang, that's so much more. Eric Porter, who's also been on, he's the coach at UMary out in Bismarck.
Yep.
He said the same thing. He's like, yeah, I just have a newfound kind of like appreciation for my former coaches. And like, do you think, I feel like some of these older coaches maybe just don't, I don't know if it's connect with the players, but like you talking about this right now, and you're probably going to, maybe tell the players like, yeah, it's a lot more than you guys think on the backside of things. Do you think eventually all of the players will kind of come to that like appreciation of their coaches? Because I feel like currently players don't really appreciate the coaches like maybe they should. And I'm not saying necessarily in Alabama's case or Yale's case, but I would say in generality, there's probably like a little bit of spite. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's not always like a great relationship. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I've started telling my players that every college tennis player should try coaching for like 6 months when they graduate. Minimum 6 months just to see what it's like. Because it is different. It is different. And I certainly, I used to give Urban, who was my assistant when I played, I used to give him so much grief for the way that he would lay out the logistics. He'd be like, da 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 da, and I used to be like, what do you mean? And now I was in charge of making the itineraries, when we would travel, and every single time I would put it in the group chat like 2 days before we would leave, and I would say, here's the itinerary for the weekend. Please let me know if you have any questions about it. And I would never get a question about it. They would all see it, and then we'd be like on the road driving, and I was thorough. Like I put in what time we were leaving, where we were stopping, what time we were stopping, what time was practice, how long was practice, where was dinner, where was the hotel. I was thorough. And every single trip I would get what time are we practicing, or where are we eating, or what time is this? And every single time I would have to say, look at the itinerary. It's on your phone. It takes 10 seconds. And yeah, I just became a little bit of, they used to make fun of me for always be like, just take the itinerary, but it's true. It's true. Like, those were my babies, and, it was annoying when they would just be like, oh, what time is this? Just expecting me to tell them. And so anyway, the point is like, yes, I think once you do it, you get an appreciation for what actually goes into it, because it's hard when you don't know. So that's why I tell our players all the time, like, be grateful, say thank you to everybody. It takes 2 seconds, no matter if it's so mundane that you don't think it deserves it. Just do it. Like, everyone will appreciate it, and it will never hurt you to say thank you. So that's just a little snippet.
Mm-hmm. And you got your graduate degrees in psychology, correct?
My undergrad was in psychology. My grad degree was in sport management.
Okay. Is there any, like, for the psychology piece, are you planning on just using that for tennis, or do you want to use that in a different, at least when I think of like a psychologist, I think of someone like sitting down with like someone and like, talking to them about their problems, and maybe that's a psychiatrist. I don't really know, but
Yes.
how do you plan on using kind of like what you've studied in school?
Well, so before I got into coaching, my dream was to become a licensed sports psychologist. So you're not too far off in your little mental picture that you had there. Um, and to be honest, now that I get into coaching, I do use little psychological tricks all the time. Like I tell my player, and full credit to Jeff Young for this, because he was the one who opened my eyes to it. But the two words that I can't stand are yeah, but, or I can't. Anything that comes after that is not good. Like, and so, I try to frame things in a way that those two responses are never going to happen. So, it's super windy out one day, and the guy, is struggling to adjust to the conditions. I'm not going to be like, well, why can't you do this? Because then they're like, I can't do that. So you just have to find ways to motivate guys and to frame things into more positive thinking. And we talk a lot about the importance of body language and nonverbal communication, because all it takes is one guy to, slump the shoulders or bounce a racket or do something stupid, and then it brings down the rest of the practice. But it also only takes one guy to pick everybody up and drag him along. So like the nonverbal stuff is important, and also just the mental piece of resetting between points. When I was a player, I did square breathing, so I taught that to some of the guys here. Or
What's
some guys
that?
really.
What's square breathing?
So according to the person that I would work with when I was at Wisconsin, it's something that they would do in the military, where if you, like, you close your eyes and you imagine a square. So you inhale like when you're going along this part of the square. So it's like, and then you exhale when you go on the sides, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. So you just like, when you inhale, you go across, and then while you're exhaling, go up in your mind, and then you just go in a square like this. It's a way to
Hmm.
like regulate your breathing, number one, but also to take in like deeper breaths to help slow down your heart rate a little bit and help calm you down a little bit. So
Sure.
that worked really well for me, but everyone has their own thing. Like, I know some guys that I used to work with at Bama, like they were big soccer fans. So I would, once I played a highlight reel on a changeover during a duel match. I pulled up a highlight reel of, he was a Barca fan, so I pulled up Lionel Messi highlights, and I put it just loud enough so that he could hear the commentary. And I didn't even say anything. I just put it on the bench, and then I went to the other court that I was with, and he watched it. And he loosened up a little bit. So there's all kinds of little tricks that you can use. You just got to know your players and build that relationship first, and then you can subtly, motivate them in little ways like that.
As a tennis player, I feel like you go through, different, quirks, or you go through different habits. I remember when I was maybe like a 6th or 7th grader, the summer, I believe it was Viva La Vida got big. So whatever year that was, and it was played on the radio a lot. So just happened to listen to it like every single tennis tournament, and that would be like the song that like I felt like I just did really well that summer.
Yes. Yes.
So you make it a point to like listen to it, and you're like, all right, like gotta listen to Viva La Vida.
Yeah.
Is there any specific thing that you've done in the past, of like trying to get in the zone, or kind of a weird quirk like that?
Geez. Well, I used to, man, that takes me back. Like, I was a pretty superstitious guy, and I was pretty set in my routines. It would start as early as like the pre-match hit. So like not even the warm up before the match. It would be, say we play at 6 on a Friday. We'd go out and hit at like 11 just to get the body going before eating, so it's not the first time you're hitting a ball in the warm up. And I was a stickler. I had it down to an exact science. I needed exactly 25 minutes. Like I just knew it. Like it got to the point where I didn't even have to check the clock. I would walk out, I would go through it, and it would be 25 minutes. And so I needed that, before every match. And then I would always play. I had a playlist that instead of hitting shuffle, I would reorganize it. I'd listen backwards to forwards. I don't know why, but I just would. And then I would also wear my socks on the wrong foot. So like I would wear the left sock on my right foot and the right sock on my left foot. Don't know why. Don't know how that happened. It just did. And then those things sort of stuck with me. So yeah, I was very superstitious, and I don't really have a coaching one yet. I guess it hasn't really developed, but it will, I'm sure.
Yeah, it has to be. Usually it's something that starts and you don't really know, and then
Yeah.
you do it a few times, you're like, ah, shoot, now I got to keep on doing it,
Yes.
because it's
Yes.
working.
Yes. Yes. I haven't picked up on what mine one is yet, but I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will.
Yeah. One that I've brought up before, and this is more of like a psychology exercise or mental exercise, but I got this recording made for, it's like 15 minutes, and it's this Dr. Dave Asp, and he essentially taught, it's like a visualization practice,
Okay.
and he essentially kind of gets you in the zone. Like he tells you the feelings and sights and the ambiance of a tennis court, and what to expect, bounce, hit, different things, tennis terminology, and I would listen to that like just ruthlessly, like probably like 2 or 3 times a day. And then, I mean, that's kind of the goal of the exercise, is to memorize it. So you can just kind of like
Yeah.
play it into your mind and almost have
Yeah.
it be like, so in that like, I would say has been the single most beneficial thing for me. I feel like I went from pretty, I wouldn't say unstable is the right word, but I would say like 10th grade, 11th grade, I was a little bit unstable. And then it just like, I feel like I just kind of like clicked with that. You know what I mean? Just kind of like became more mature, if that makes sense.
That's
But
pretty common. That's pretty common. It happens a lot. I've seen it in college. Like it happened to myself where freshman, sophomore year, even bits of junior year, I was like complete and utter. I won't say that word on camera, but like, and then by my last 2 years, I kind of figured it out, and I kind of just knew what I needed to do to, regulate my emotions. And I still would have, a blip here or there, or like a bad practice here or there, but fewer and farther between. And I don't know, it just, I can't really like pinpoint a time where it just clicked, but it just did. And
mhm.
then I didn't really look back from there. So no, trying to make my players have that moment, but freshman or sophomore year versus senior year for me. So that's the challenge.
Mm-hmm. And you being from Minnesota, it kind of gives you a little bit of a different perspective that a lot of these other guys. I mean, you probably have I wouldn't say quite a few foreigners, but there's quite a few foreigners in college tennis. And then the people who do grow up in the States probably aren't growing up in the Midwest like Minnesota. What kind of perspective do you think that gives you, or helps you in any certain way with your players?
Honestly, I think it comes back to the gratitude piece. In Minnesota, we're not able to play outside for more than 2.5 months, 3 months of the year, right? And you know, even for a Big Ten school, when the team was still there, like we were taken care of, but we weren't spoiled. Um, like an SEC program has the ability to, and so the guys would ask me all the time, like, what was your like? Did you have this? Did you have this? And almost every time it was like, no, because they'd be saying, did you have a weight room that you shared with football and you got access to all the technology? No. Did you travel a trainer at every match? No. Did you cold tub? No. Did you do this? No. So, and they would look at me and they'd be like, but how did you compete? And we're like, we just did. Like, we had what we had and that's what we did. And, so I think it gives me that gratitude piece of like you guys don't understand how well you have it. And
Mm-hmm.
even at Yale, like, they get to get a world-class education and play tennis and represent a university that a lot of kids or even people would die to be associated with. And
Mm-hmm.
that holds value, and that's not something that is taken for granted, and it shouldn't be. So, you know, I really want our players to be conscious of that every time that they even walk around campus, like how grateful they are to be there, because without it, then it becomes an expectation and then it can lead into some bad habits.
Mm-hmm. And in another one of those players that's overcame a lot of different things is Budarak. He's from
Yeah.
Rochester,
Yeah.
and coming from Minnesota, going to Gustavus, being a D3 tennis player, and he's got to be doing something crazy now for tennis. Do you talk with him ever? Do you stay in touch with him?
I'm almost positive he is, if not the main tournament director, because he was the tournament director in Cincinnati.
Right.
But I'm almost positive that he is like very high up in running the U.S. Open.
Okay.
Because 2 years ago when I was a hitting partner there
Mm-hmm.
at the U.S. Open, he was the one who kind of got me, like set me up with that. And I'm pretty sure he is, he's very high up in the U.S. Open. That I know. Like he's involved like very heavily in like the planning and the, you know, player relations stuff part of it. So maybe he's not the actual tournament director, but he's very high up in that process.
We 2 years ago, we Lex and I went to the Cincinnati Western and Southern Open, and
Yes.
the first night it was Rohan Bopana and I think it was Matt Ebden.
Yeah.
We're playing. It was Karen Kachanoff and Denis Shapovalov.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like drizzling, so it was kind of going in and out of rain. So they would play like different songs, and then they would like Rohan Bopana was like dancing and stuff, and it was kind of a cool like unique vibe. But I remember Budarak, he was sitting there, and I was like, I was too I was too afraid to go and say hi to him, even though he probably would have been like all for it, like, hey, from Minnesota, trying to check out some good tennis. It was my first pro tournament at the time. Um, but yeah, didn't have the nerve to do that. Have you? And then I remember you, because he was like a massive advocate for college tennis. So yeah, he had all the college players. I remember seeing you there. I
Yeah.
remember seeing, I believe it was Gavin Young was there.
Nick Beattie was there too. They were playing doubles for representing
Beatty.
Michigan.
So that's super cool that they give you that experience. And then maybe no, I think this was a different tournament, but you at DC, you
Hmm.
were helping Ingrid coach. So you've kind
Yep.
of had these, that hitting at the Western and Southern, coaching Ingrid, which is super cool. Have you had any of these other experiences that you're like you highlight? You're like, oh, that was a really cool experience.
Just the hitting partner at Cincinnati and like the college stuff, and then hitting partner at the U.S. Open. That was pretty cool too.
U.S. Open. When did you do
Yeah.
that?
Fall of 2023.
Oh,
I got to hit on Ash with Ostapenko right before she beat Swiatek.
there we go.
So that was cool.
What
I
time?
warmed up. I warmed up Borna Gojo before he played Novak on Ash, and he hit a serve, and like like I did my best Novak impression of like a lunging backhand two-handed return, and I didn't know it at the time, but Sinner and Darren Cahill were walking like right behind the court, and if I hadn't touched the ball, it would have hit them. And Darren Cahill just went, "Whew, nice one, mate," and they just kept walking like without breaking stride.
You
That
saved their life.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. But I got to hit with like Nico Jerry. You know, I got to hit with so many people, and I got to just experience that tournament. You know, from kind of like the inside. It was
Hmm.
great, and I got to hit on Armstrong, and I hit with Mukova. And as I was leaving, this journalist stopped me on like the main walkway, and she just went, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry to bother you," but she was like from the BBC, and she was just like, "I noticed you were hitting with Mukova. How was she hitting the ball? I'm planning on saying this in the broadcast, and I'll use your name if you want." So I was just like, "Sure," and I gave her a little rundown of what we did, and I was like, "Okay." Like I hit with Paulini before she like took off. She was like 80 in the world at the time, and I hit with her. Um, so I'm a little disappointed that she didn't ask me to be her traveling hitting partner right after that, but it is what it is.
I'm
But
I'm just viewing the TV like, yeah, and Sebastian Vile is just saying she's hitting it absolutely
yeah,
absolutely clean as a whistle in
yeah, yeah.
practice.
Well, she made me do like she wanted me to hit like a bunch of slices, and then she was like hitting it and coming in because like her opponent I guess had like a two-handed like crafty whatever.
Mm.
So we actually like drilled something. So that's why I was like, oh, should I say this or should I not? But like everyone was super nice, and I got to hit next to Alcaraz, and um, even at Cincinnati, like the best story I have from Cincinnati is I'm in the players' lounge with Gavin, sitting at this table, and it was raining that morning, so like there were no hits and no practices, and everyone's in there, like everyone, like Kyrgios walked by us and was going to change his shorts and all that, and there's like a general like buzz in the room, and then it just goes like pretty silent, and we're like, what's going on? And suddenly Rafa like walks in with like bag over his shoulder, dressed, Mark Lopez in tow, and fucking he goes straight. The the Papa shot shoot a score basketball game.
Yeah.
Looks straight to the Papa shot, plays for an hour straight, and in between each round he does the underwear thing. In between each round, he's doing the underwear thing on the Papa shot, and it was incredible. It was incredible. And then he went and he was doing wall sits while getting his wrist tape. He was just sitting against the wall, like he was just a beast. It was unbelievable, unbelievable.
All
That's
right. Let's pause, I guess, 43 minutes into the production and hear from our new guest, David. Oh, wait. He's muted. I muted him.
Two great tennis minds. I apologize for my tardiness. You probably both have texted me. My phone is dead, and I realized I left my charger in the office. I also, I had a financial aid call with a football dad that went about. It started at 7:30. Was supposed to get done at 7:45. It's 8:40 now. Um, but you know what? Sometimes in life, there's things that happen that are outside of your control. And at Concordia Admission, we like to provide premier service. And I had to do that, and I had to put the needs of this family above my own personal wants and interests. But it's great to be here, and it's great to be with the newest member of the Yale Tennis coaching staff. Congratulations, Sebo.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
Wait, David, your mic is like super high pitched.
Is it doing that thing again?
Yeah, which is fine. So we'll just we're 43 minutes in. I feel
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm
anyone
really sorry.
anyone listening this far will probably endure. But if you can like mute when you're not talking, that would be much appreciated.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I'll mute you then.
Well, I was just about to click.
I feel like I gotta I I don't know, like I don't know if there's an admissions meeting at 7:30 p.m. at night. I'm calling BS. I'm calling your eyes look like you might have just woke up there, David. Are you sure that there's an admissions meeting this late?
Yeah, with Lady Sleep. No, I actually did have a call. Like I'm like not even bullshitting you. I will say I did not wear this. But no, I did have a call. Like that's the one thing that like again we're a team like in our office, but like one of the ways that I try to like be like it's all about how can you be different and put yourself above the comp is I take meetings in the evenings.
Mhm.
For the better and the worse. And so yeah, no, I did have a call.
okay.
And I'm out here being absolutely disrespectful while David's absolutely put in the late night hours. I'm just putting shame on your name. So formally apologize.
Hey, you don't talk about the Maya Coach of the Year like that, buddy.
Yeah, David won the MIAC Coach of the Year. Is there any such award for the SEC or now the
Ivy League?
Is there a word for like coach of the year?
Yeah, do you guys have like a Coach of the Year?
Yeah, we do.
Who do you know who won it last year for the SEC?
I would assume it would be Bruce Burke at Texas. I mean, they lost one match, and it was a match that they didn't play a full lineup, and then they ended up winning the tournament and were top 5 all year. So it would have to be Bruce Burke, I would imagine. Shout out Nick Beattie. So yeah, I would have to imagine it was him.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, Sebo. Obviously, like, the Northern Section is now we've got an assistant coach at Yale. We've got one at Texas. What's in the water in the Northern Section? Because we've got two former, sons of our section that are coaching at pretty high level programs at the assistant coach level.
Yeah, Petro as well. Don't forget about Petro.
Well, Petro's at Utah State.
Yeah.
After coming from Oregon. So, what's in the water? Well, it's probably just the fight culture that Wyatt McCoy instills in everybody. His groups are legendary for just being absolute war zones. People yelling "fight, fight, fight" all the time, and
You fight.
yeah, exactly. That's Wyatt McCoy to a T. He's not in college coaching, but he's done a heck of a job with the juniors in the Northern Section as well with his group. So, big shout out to him too, because the kids that are coming up, like the Bjorn Swensons of the world, the Soren Swensons of the world, who just won state. So the state championship line is strong in the Swenson family. So, that's big shout out to Wyatt and what he does. So, I think really we just win the sportsmanship award every year at zonals and all that, and we just produce the best coaches because we've lost so many times.
Yeah, that's fair. Big fan of the sportsmanship award.
Yeah.
Now, full disclosure, I do want to let you know. Obviously, you're at a new institution. You're probably going to be doing some recruiting. I do have a lock on the top 4 seeds from the state tournament this year. They're all coming to Concordia College, so I'm going to ask you please not to poach them. from me.
Who were the top four? It was Soren. It was Aaron Badoon.
Badoon.
Well, isn't Aaron Badoon coming to Denver?
Yeah, he's but
Concordia.
he'll be in town this
Concordia.
weekend.
Okay.
It may not be for a visit at Concordia, but we can always
Okay.
shift his mind.
Who was 3 and 4? I actually do not know.
I honestly can't remember. I know that the 1 seed for 1A was a freshman from SPA, and he just rolled through the draw. But
Yeah.
Sebo, we've told you the story, right, of our beloved college coach Joe Murray with recruitment.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the reason he left us. He was just so distraught that he couldn't get you.
Yeah.
I know we were top on the list, but
Well,
close to the top.
If
maybe
it
in
meant
another
they
life.
could have gotten some form of revenge on Toivonen for that fucking disaster at the rack, that would have been nice. That would have been nice.
I do want to ask, and if you guys have already covered this, my apologies, and you can cut this, but like Sebo, when it comes to this opportunity, you're coming from Tuscaloosa, you're in New Haven, Connecticut, Alabama and Yale, 2 very different schools. What do you anticipate being the biggest challenge?
It's a great question. I think it's going to be managing the different expectations and requirements of these student athletes. It's Yale's probably a top 5 institution, maybe in the world. So, the academics is crucial, and for that reason, they're going to have more opportunities off the court, which is great. That's the way it should be. That's what tennis should allow you to do. But I'm going to be coming from a program that is going to be all about winning, and not that Yale isn't, to be clear, but it's going to be about like setting people up to go professional tennis, and very professional tennis oriented. And not that kids in the Ivy don't go pro, but it's just not as often as kids in the SEC, right? Because of that off court opportunity that presents itself with the Ivy. So I think it's going to be, and I could be wrong, so ask me again in a year, but my guess is that it's going to be managing those expectations and those requirements in a way that allows them to still be at their best without pushing them too hard, right? So that's going to be hard.
What specific, I know you mentioned before, you were in charge of kind of like itinerary and you put it in the group chat, which is a lot more work than probably people think. But when you were meeting with the coach and stuff like that, what specific like roles and responsibilities do you have? Or like, obviously you're recruiting right now at the clay courts. What other responsibilities are they, like, hey, like we want you to do this?
I mean, really my job is to help the head coach and make his life easier. So he didn't really say like, you're only going to be in charge of this, or I need you to be in charge. I'm mostly going to plug the holes that he can't. I did tell him that like equipment management and like travel logistics, that's kind of like my thing. And like, I feel confident and willing to do that and take that sort of headache away from him. And also, I'll be helping facilitate some like community clinics, 3 times a week, where we get members of the community come to our facility and, run some tennis programming and get to know me and us. And I'm a big believer in getting our guys involved in the community, because that's how you get fans to come to matches. That's how you get people to be invested in the program. So, I'm a big believer in all that stuff. So that's what I'm going to push hard on. And then also the doubles. I really want to get these kids on the doubles court, but that'll come.
Maybe you got to get Bruce Gullickson out there. Tell these
parties at the net.
Yeah, tell these Yale boys that the parties at the net.
I've never forgotten that for as long as I live, and I think
every year on Facebook birthday.
Yep, exactly right. Every year. I think every year. He used to post on my wall. Now I think he messages me privately. But every year he would say, "Happy birthday, Sebo. Remember the party's at the net." It's like, oh my gosh.
How many times do you think he? Because obviously, like we're like, wow, he says that every single time. But like, if every single person says he does this every single time, is he just absolutely spamming at like
Dude,
20 different parties
he's
at
a
the net every day?
beast. He is a beast when it comes to that stuff. Like, it would not surprise me at all. He's a total beast.
Yeah, I'm actually super stoked. We're gonna do for the first time ever in Cobber men's tennis history a little preseason retreat down at Edina Country Club. I'm gonna have Oliver Summers, Greg Wickland, and Bruce Gullickson do some work with the boys, and
There you go.
we need our Cobber boys at the net
Yeah,
because it's like you mentioned, doubles is everything in college.
it is. It makes a big difference whether you want to believe that or not. I mean, it's 1 point, but it's a lot easier to win 3 matches versus 4. Just from a math perspective, 3 is less than 4. So
It's a Yale man already. Speaking of which, Sebo, like you mentioned, you're going to be employed by one of the greatest institutions in the world. There are some pretty prestigious alum that have attended college in New Haven, Connecticut. And so I want to play a little game here called Name That Yale Alum. And so how this is going to work is I'm going to say one word, and you have to guess who the alum is.
is the word going to be like their name or what?
No, it's just going to be a word associated with them.
Oh gosh. Okay.
And you can you need to get 5. And you
Okay.
can also have a phone a friend.
Okay.
And you get 3 hints in the tank, okay?
Ooh,
Or in the hopper.
Got it.
to be on record before this starts, we've never taken like a live phone a friend. I think it'd be electric if you had to phone someone and see if they pick up. I think that's gonna be cool.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm game. Let's go.
All right. The first word is broccoli.
Broccoli.
Ooh.
This is a vegetable that a certain person in a certain office refused to eat.
Oh gosh. I'm gonna expose myself.
I can elaborate a little more. He had a son who had a similar role, actually the same role.
Oh, that okay. So wait, now I gotta remember which one came first. I believe it was George H.W. Bush.
Bingo. Great work.
Oh,
Great
baby.
work. All right.
Come on. He
Alrighty.
broccoli? That's rather fascinating.
Yeah, he hated broccoli.
Okay.
The second person, your clue is the X-Files. Have you seen the show?
Nope.
Oh, you're probably not going to get it then. It's David Duchovny.
It's David who?
Duchovny. He plays Fox Mulder in the X-Files. You should watch it. It's like a sci-fi show like from the 90s.
Fair enough.
But it's bloody brilliant.
Okay.
Third, CNN.
I do know this one off the top of my head. It's Anderson Cooper.
Yes.
Yep. When I got to Yale, but the head coach took us on a tour and he took us into the School of Journalism or whatever, and Anderson Cooper's portrait is in there. So that's how I know that one.
All right. Oh, sorry, David. So David's mic is kind of whistling, so I'm trying to avoid that. Sorry, David. Sorry. All right, you gotta unmute now. Sorry.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, as a big J guy, journalism major, Anderson Cooper's one of the best in the biz. Tells the truth. Benghazi.
Okay, I know Bill went, but did Hillary go too?
Yeah, she did. Yeah, we probably could have put that one in there. I want to protect your face.
I didn't know that Hillary went. I knew Bill went, but I didn't know that Hillary went. Okay, all right. That's good to know.
We'll do one more. Let's see. I'm just
Gotta
looking
be
at a list here.
phone a friend-esque.
Let's do. Give me a second. I've got a long list here because apparently there's quite a few cool people that have gone.
Yeah, there's
Um,
a lot.
One of the best renditions of Levels by Avicii remixes.
Whoa. Okay.
I could rephrase. I like beer. Sometimes I drink too much beer.
Wait, Brett
Catholic
Kavanaugh?
all girls. Yeah, dude. Yeah,
He went to Yale?
yeah, dude. He's a Yale boy.
No way. He went
Um,
to Yale? Oh my gosh. That
um,
is scary.
yeah, it's maybe you don't want to be in the same company as him.
No, I would rather not. Wow.
I mean, I'm looking at this list here, Sebo. Just a lot of politicians. Some that, you know, I think we sit on a similar place politically, but there's a lot that currently, like our current vice president.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say couch, but you didn't.
That may or may not have been on the list. But I want to get a phone a friend here.
Okay. I gotta think about who I would call. Depends on what the clue is.
What? How about this? Kick butt Minnesota senator.
Kick butt Minnesota senator. Well, okay.
And I'll preface this is a non-political podcast. We respect all views and opinions, despite minus the crazy ones.
Minus the crazy ones. Okay, well, I'm just gonna think out loud here before I phone my friend. Like I'm thinking kick butt Minnesota senator. That's like was he a senator?
They've been
Was he a senator? Well, so I thought Klobuchar, but I don't know if she went to Yale. Is he a senator? Was Al Franken senator?
He was a senator.
Okay. Trying to think about other senators that I know from Minnesota that are not Klobuchar and Al Franken.
All right, I don't think you're gonna. I'm stepping in. I feel like this is getting too. We're going down the political side.
I know. We probably shouldn't do this. That's my bad. It's just tough when you've got a school with. This is where like half of our presidents. It is Amy Klobuchar.
It is? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Dude,
good for her, honestly.
We're gonna see Mayor Sebo coming up soon, or President Sebo.
Lord, I wouldn't get your hopes up if I were you.
All right, so trivia question that you may or may not know.
Okay.
This former NFL quarterback beat Andy Roddick, a professional tennis player, or he beat him twice in tennis. Do you know which professional quarterback?
He beat Roddick twice?
Supposedly, according to AI.
And he was a quarterback, okay.
Yeah. Former professional quarterback. David, don't say it, but do you know? Not if you know. You do know.
Of course he knows it. This is something he knows.
Ooh, yeah, this is the phone a friend one right here. Which one of your friends do you know anyone? It is getting kind of late right now. It is 9 p.m. So, or I guess 10 p.m. on the East Coast.
Yeah, who could I call that would know? There's only one person I think that I could call that would know, but I don't think he'll answer. That's the problem. Who could I call that would know? Oh, and who's going to pick up? Beat Roddick twice. Who would know something like that? Okay, you know what? I'm going to try it.
Who we calling?
We're calling Steve Tackle. He was my coach at the rack. Let's see if he knows. Come on, please answer. Please answer. He's probably doing bedtime with his kids. He's gonna call me back in like the morning and be like, what the hell are you doing? No, he's not going to answer. He's not going to pick up. He's not going to pick up. Okay, former NFL quarterback, so he's not actively playing.
No. That's
Damn.
right. That's right. That's right.
Okay,
So-
I'm going to take a wild guess. Okay, it's not Peyton Manning. It's not Eli. They can't run. Who could it be? Maybe like wait, how old is Andy Roddick? He's what, 38?
I think let me look it up. Give me some info.
Or is he 40 plus now?
Dude, if you get this, there's no way you're gonna get this.
Is he okay? I just need to know how old he is.
Yeah, let me look. You better not be looking it up right now.
My hands are here. I'll keep my hands
42. Andy Roddick is 42.
Andy Roddick is 42. Okay, I'm going to keep my hands here so you guys don't accuse me of looking it up. He's 42. Okay. Am I allowed to know when? No, because the year probably gives it away. Okay. My one question is, has this quarterback won a Super Bowl?
Yes, I believe so.
More than one?
Let's look it up. Let's fact check it.
If he's won more than one, then that narrows it down. But if he's won one, then I might be screwed.
Why doesn't this pop up? I Googled their name and then Super Bowl. Come on, AI.
Surely it's not someone.
It's just one. Just one.
It's just one.
Yep.
Quarterbacks who've won one Super Bowl. I thought that would make it easier, but it actually didn't. Okay, Andy Roddick is from. Where's he from? Nebraska?
I think he's
No,
from
that's Jack Sock.
California. Yeah.
He's from Texas, isn't he? Or
Oh.
maybe that's just where he currently resides.
we just don't know. We just have no idea.
I'm pretty sure he lives in Austin right now, but
Okay, I'm gonna take a stab here, and I'm gonna go with. This is probably too old though. I'm gonna go with Big Ben Roethlisberger.
Good guess. No, it's Drew Brees. Yeah,
What?
Drew Brees. Yeah, Drew Brees was, I guess, was just an absolute animal on the tennis court.
Drew Brees?
Yeah.
no, are you sure?
Yeah.
He played at Purdue.
What?
Purdue.
Yeah, Drew Brees beat
Yeah, it
Andy
says it
Roddick
right
in
here,
tennis as a junior.
He didn't go to Yale though.
No, I just like made a random trivia question. Dude,
I was thinking of Brian Dowling.
As I said, anything connected to Yale was a politician. I'm saying we're gonna leave the politics.
Okay, well,
Wait, were you
I
under
thought
the
you were
impression,
talking about
Sebo,
Brian Dowling.
Who is that?
Wait, Sebo, were you under the impression that it had to be a Yale person? Roethlisberger?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, okay.
Oh,
Good.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
Wait,
do
did
want to
Big
do
Ben go to
one more.
Yale? No, he didn't.
I do want to do one more Yale person involved in sports. Involved in sports.
Okay.
Your hint is general manager for the Boston Red Sox and formerly Chicago Cubs.
Oh God. Yeah, no chance I get this.
Do you know any professional baseball GM names off the top of your head?
No, I don't.
Theo Epstein is the answer. He's really good at his job.
Well,
What
the
was
Red Sox are typically a pretty good baseball team. That much I do know. So he must be pretty good at his job. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the GM for the Cubs when they won the World Series in 2016.
Yeah. So that's a pretty nice thing to have on your resume. You know, get that franchise its first World Series.
And just to go back, so yep, Roddick is from Austin, Texas, and moved to Boca Raton.
Yeah, he moved there, and then Marty Fish came and lived with them.
Yeah, that's right. That's part of the Marty Fish's documentary.
Yeah, that's a great documentary. If you guys haven't
Super
seen that, by the way.
I love
Great
a good tennis documentary.
Yes.
But yeah, Dave, I got one last question for Sebo. I don't know if you got any other ones, or otherwise we'll wrap it up here.
I think that we've equipped him with what he needs to know. The folks who have attended the land that he's going to walk, the folks that have walked so he can run. So I'll let you
Yeah,
take it away.
yeah.
Are there any specific shout outs that you would like to give or put out into the world, Sebo?
Shout outs. Okay. I will say one shout out has to go to Matt Hokinson for continuously hating on me for moving to get to bigger and better things. Also, shout out to Matt Hokinson for getting to a 10 UTR, which I don't know if I've asked you. I think I have asked you guys this. Have I asked you guys the LeBron scenario? If you gave LeBron, like 28-year-old LeBron, a tennis racket, how long do you think it takes him to get to a 10 UTR? So Matt Hokinson level.
Yeah.
And I picked 28 because I thought like pretty peak athleticism, like pretty peak athletic development.
Zero chance. How long? I don't think you would ever do it. I think if you're LeBron and you're starting from zero at tennis.
Yeah, like the assumption is that he's like specialized in basketball up until 28.
Zero chance. There's an absolute there's no chance. You can't. It's so hard to develop tennis, like almost like how you move and how and your body, how it shifts on the court when you're older, because you think about too many things. Like a younger player I feel like they just can kind of like soak up like a movement, but like an older player, an adult, they overanalyze. They're always asking questions like, oh, what do I need to tweak? It's like, no, you just need to like play. You just need to feel the ball. So I think literally zero. I think if you were 20 years old, I think that's the last age you could hit a 10 UTR. Because I think you have 10 prime years of getting better. But I think 28, you have like maybe like 2-3 years of your prime, like physical peak. Maybe you can push it a little bit more if you're really, really good. But I don't know. I just don't see it. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I would say, if you were to say 19, and you put a racket in his hand, give him a Yonex Super Grap overgrip, some Hyper G in the racket, he could definitely get there by 28. But I just don't see it happening. I think that, like, could he certainly become like a good rec league player? Like, what's the guy's name that Matt Hokinson always reposts? The guy who like was a college football player who like has learned
Oh,
like, you know who I'm talking about?
I do know who you're talking about. I was going to reference Goats Awaken. He has Road to 10 UTR. He has this 10 Road to 10 UTR series, and he posted, how long do you think it's going to take me? And I told him 4 years. And he's probably like a 16-year-old kid, and he was like a 6.5 UTR maybe. I'm like, that's like I think I'm not trying to be critiqueful of him. I'm like, dude, it takes a long time to become a 10 UTR. Like it just does. It's not easy to get to that point. Like you have to play a lot of really, really good players from like 8 to 10 UTR to get to that 10 UTR level.
Yeah, I was
But
that reminds me of my glory days when I was a high 10. Wasted a guy named Isaac Toivonen in the semis of the Red my senior year of high school, and then it all went downhill from there.
yeah, but back to your reference, back to your reference, David, the former college football player. He's gotten pretty good, but there's no way that guy's a 10. Like he's probably like a 6 or a 7.
At best. No, I bring it up because I was gonna say, like, I think LeBron could easily get to his level and then some, with like probably within 7 to 8 months. Um, but yeah, I don't think, to answer Sebo's initial question. Sorry, LeBron. Maybe Jordan could, but I don't think he could do it.
Yeah.
I fully agree with both of you. I don't think he does it.
Yeah.
I really don't, because like I started at 4, and when I was, like 17, I was a 10. So that was what, 13 years. Granted, I was starting from like a literal infant, not infant, but like super small and had to develop, but it took me 13 years to develop the skills to be a 10. I don't think it's possible. I really
Mhm.
don't. I used to say like 5 years, but now I don't see it. Like I watch like the kids that I'm watching here are, some of them like the younger ones are like, high tens. And I'm thinking, could LeBron ever like compete with them? Sure, but could he beat them consistently? I don't think so.
Mhm.
I don't think so. I think
Mhm.
it's just too hard. Like Jimmy Butler plays tennis fairly consistently, and if you watch him play, like it looks like he's discovering his arms for the very first time
Right.
when he hits. So that's that. I don't know if you guys saw the Andy Roddick segment about the Alcaraz Sinner French Open match, where he called tennis athletes the best athletes on the planet, and I fully agree with that. By the way, I think it's the hardest sport in the world, and I think that uh, Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal are the three greatest athletes to ever walk the planet, and I will die on that hill. You can post that as a YouTube short, by the way. I don't care. I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill.
That's not the first time it's been said. I want to say 7, 8 years ago, probably longer now, probably a decade ago. Um, the man who won the decathlon was asked, like at the Olympics, was asked, like, what do you think is the toughest sport in the world? And he said tennis. Um, and I think it goes back to, not to go down a rabbit hole, but obviously the physical component. You have to be agile as heck. You have to have the tactical skills. You have to have the skills up here. Look at Andre Agassi, um, talking about in his book, tennis is the loneliest sport in the world. Um, you have to be able to wrestle with that, and so it's just a testament to all the people that we know who play this beautiful yet grueling game.
Yeah.
Keep on keeping on, folks.
Yeah, go watch that segment. By the way, Roddick talks about it. He talks about why it's the toughest, and he even answers like hate comments as well. And then Agassi did an interview with Roddick, and he talks about it too. So go watch it. I find that stuff utterly fascinating. I love listening to Roddick talk, tactics and the X's and O's. And you know who else is a very good interviewer and very good insight and super smart? Taylor Fritz. You should go watch his post-match interviews. They're actually like really insightful. I really like watching them. So,
But
bigger
does he get his sister off of work from Morgan Stanley?
that's Ben Shelton.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know. But hey,
Yeah,
roll America, baby.
yeah.
Thank thank you, Sebo, for coming on and spending your time with us. We appreciate it. Good luck with everything at Yale.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no
I'm
problem.
gonna send in that LeBron question to Crack Rackets. By the way, I'm gonna do it.
Do it.
I'm gonna do it. I think it's gonna stir up. I hope it stirs up a little bit of chatter. 'Cause I think it's a fun one. It's like that one. I don't know if you guys saw like who wins in 100-meter dash plus eating a hot dog, Joey Chestnut or Usain Bolt. I think Joey Chestnut wins, but I don't know
Chestnut
how
all
fast
day.
he runs.
Yeah.
I don't know how fast he runs.
Yeah.
So
All right.
just little things like that.
Yeah.
I like that
All right.
stuff.
Bye, everybody.
Do up to the ding ding dong day.